everybody. Let us continue discussing the same topic. And now we will move from the high global level to Bulgaria and see what is being done in Bulgaria on the issues which were addressed. I am Anton Kuliski, and I am interested in every aspect of technical issues. I'm manager of a cluster, techno enthusiast, and so on. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to chair this panel talking about services which are a major part of our day-to-day life. In previous editions of this event, I've seen very interesting ideas which were not perhaps technologically supported, but very innovative and interesting. And I see the same people now who have developed the technologies, and I hope that this year again there will be new ideas which will inspire new achievements which we will discuss next time. So today we have experts from various fields with us. I'll let them introduce themselves. Janko, you have the floor. Good afternoon. I am Janko Spasov. I am the founder of the Cybersecurity Forever Foundation. I am a technocrat. I'm a technologically minded person. I'm mainly interested in cybersecurity, new technologies, the way we need to deal with them in order to preserve our own identity. That's for myself, Krasi. I could not possibly come up with something as nice as that. I'm Krasimir Traikov, just a regular human being who likes cheese pies. Yes, my morning started with a cheese pie. What I have been doing in the last few years has been cybersecurity, corporate security, and something that is very exotic in Bulgaria, but it is now gaining ground, namely training. I train people in a simple, accessible way. None of us is such a narrow expert, including myself. And the reason for me to do that, and I really am committed to what I do, is that I provide training in an accessible manner. I want people to be aware of the threats and be able to prevent them. Denis Turgut is my name. I also like cheese pie. I am the founder of a Bulgarian company called Priority Zero. We are into ethical hacking, if I may call it that manner. And we cooperate with some of the biggest companies, also SMEs as well. And we help them better protect themselves from the modern day threats. And here I'm today with you in order to talk about the technologies which the colleagues talked about earlier on. They are incredible, but you need to be careful how you deal with them. So briefly, I wanted to begin with a brief explanation as to what we understand under convergent technologies. Because in the last years in Europe, there is this policy to launch new words, new buzzwords. And then these buzzwords are used very often outside the correct context. So what is the threat? And what exactly are we trying to address? That is, we're talking of AI, ChatGPT. This is not the only AI, but this is most popular AI. Then talking about information drones, augmented reality, and so on. And very often the term convergent technologies comes up. So this term means several technologies piling up in order to increase their capacity. So, for instance, augmented reality takes you to imaginary world, and AI gives you a different uh, experience. Information drones that fly overhead can count people or take pictures of a site. This is convergent technology. In our world today, these technologies change our world, our environment, and it's difficult to draw the line which technology can be used for what and what happens afterwards, which is the next one down the road, so to say. And for every technology, there are benefits and risks. And the more these technologies pile up, the more uh, possibilities and opportunities for attacks uh, come up. So I would like to give the floor to Janko first to talk about digitalization. He is a person of a very varied experience in this field, namely different technologies that pile up depending on the needs of a different business or of the society. And I want us to start further back, namely what is that, how the world is changing, and the steps we can take to address the different problems. So, Janko, can you tell us briefly what digitalization means through the viewpoint of your experience of the last few decades? I'm not sure I would be able to do it in a few words. Digitalization um, is something like the misunderstood civilization. There is such a play in with this title in Bulgaria. So I can say what is not digitalization and what is not where this word cannot be used. So digitalization is not taking a piece of paper with a document which is uploaded in an electronic version. Then you go to the respective institution, you get a copy, you fill in this form, you sign it by hand, and then you go back to the same institution and file it in. This is not digitalization. It's not digitalization to have to fill in your data 10 times over for the same document for the same institution. Every time you have to fill in your personal identification number and then get the question when your date of birth, what your date of birth is, which is of course contained in this number. Digitalization is the efforts that we all make in order to transfer all that, all these activities to new technologies, or rather the existing technologies, I should say. In this manner, you would relieve man of such trivial tasks and have the time for thinking and for something useful. You should not be using the computer as a typewriter. This is not digitalization. So how this affects the modern technologies, and I'm not going to use the term convergent technologies because this word is being used in a different context. However, these modern technologies, including AI, help a lot. They help in digitalization, uh, making processes more automated. We are actually reliving Charlie Chaplin and modern times, but at a different stage of our development. Routine efforts can be replaced by AI or AI agents or all of that put together. And of course, we'll probably have to take another step forward, namely discuss the issue of how all that should be supported. So digitalization as such means making human labor easier, easing up human labor by using modern technology. Here I would like to give the floor to Dennis. He has a lot of experience in different business sectors. How is digitalization running in Bulgaria? Do you know which are the groups that wish to digitalize most urgently, and how does this process run? Yes, of course. Digitalization is urgent for every business that wants to survive and be competitive. We have not had clients, we have not seen any who don't want to go this way. And many of them actually transform into new companies because of the attempt to digitalize, especially in the financial sector. This is a key issue. You know that we more and more make the transition to e-money. We're talking of e-euro financial operations where money paper would not be involved at all. All of that requires digitalization. The banks are now digital. We do everything on our mobiles, be it listening to music, making money transfers, managing contracts with our telecom operator. All of that is digital, and yes, it makes life easier. There's no area where we don't notice that. We make appointments at the doctors digitally, for instance. And, however, there's a big issue there, namely data security. And the more we digitalize, the easier our life becomes, the more risks there are. There is an interesting phenomenon in the companies that we work with, especially the big ones. Namely, that the staff in the company, no matter which company it is, they love the IT team because the IT team makes their life easier. This team gives them access, fix password issues, offers the systems which make their lives easier. However, these people hate the security teams, that is, people like us, because we're on the other side of the barrier, if you wish. We make their life difficult. We want them to reset their passwords every 30 days. We want them to have new passwords. We impose security measures. We want them to see videos on security, etc., etc. So digitalization, by all means, is a phenomenon that is omnipresent. You can't go without it. You know that ChatGPT is broadly used in business. Microsoft are once again firing. They're firing 6,000 of their staff because of digitalization, because of AI. So you can't go without it, but we need to go a secure way. Um, and we need to be careful how we use these new means of work, these new tools in our life, in private lives as well. So if the digital environment is where we work and live, we raise our children, and so on, we inevitably come across a cliche which is everywhere. We're all involved in this process. It's all up to us. We all need to feel secure. And precisely because we are all involved in this process, and as Dennis said, there are IT departments in the different companies, but this is not the only place where security has to be dealt with, and no one else needs to be informed. No, everyone can be a threat, or everyone can be a safety barrier. So we all need to be familiar with the process. And now I move on and give the floor to Krasi. We all hear that man is the most vulnerable component, the weakest link in the chain. So why do we need this kind of training, and why in the last 10 years we keep hearing the same thing? Man is the problem. Train your people. 98% of the problems come up because somebody clicked on the link. Why, if there are so many reports, we do not get things done and get trained? So what was your question?
That was a really long question, typical of Tony. Well, he wants me to talk about the special connection. Well, what is actually your question? I'm not being disrespectful. You saw me looking at my phone, but you were speaking about technology raising children, I think. Well, I'm a father now. My child was born 20 days ago, so That's something important to me. But we were choosing a baby phone 30 days ago, and it turned out that most of those devices are um, connected to the internet. And it's possible to use your smartphone. And when the time comes for the baby to be born, you get all kinds of advice. People are telling you what to buy and how you can monitor your child. That's not okay, because I always tell those people one and the same thing. You know those search engines, you type in the device that you need, a baby camera or something else. Do you know how many of those cameras are not protected? And you know what kind of people are on the internet, and those people are just waiting for you to connect. So Anton was talking about how we protect the company and the fact that 98% of attacks start with a human mistake. And he's right that humans, individuals, are the first and the last line of defense. So Dennis and Janko will be speaking about all kinds of technologies that can help us. But once we have the attack and once we have a breach, we are indeed at the last line of defense. We as human beings should be aware of the threat, and that's why we have to start training people. Dennis was talking about a video training. Well, that's boring. I'm the perfect example of what you need to do, because I find almost everything boring. I'm not that young, but I like to think of myself as being young. And the social media, social networks, and the dynamism of modern life has made our attention fickle. And you might be feeling that yourself, having spent a whole day here in this room. Your attention span is always exhausted. You're looking at your phones. You walk in and out just to get a bit of a break. So the attention span has gone down. So I need to be able to attract your attention and make the training interesting to you. Unfortunately, videos, if they're not very innovative, very catchy, you would not even care to open it, let alone watch it. Unfortunately, things do not happen at the speed that we would like them to happen, and people usually spend their time working, and they get trained perhaps once a year. And even if there is a training delivered, you're likely to forget most of what you have been taught in just a week or two. So what are the best practices? Going back to Donny's question, now that I have a baby, it's a spoonful at a time. Very small doses of information, showing people how they can cope and what they need to do. Um, because people need to get a clear idea of the bad things that could happen to them, and then they would listen to you. And it was just 5 or 6 days ago when I trained somebody how to use a password manager. I don't know how many of you know how to use it, but we had it in the news very recently about huge leakage of passwords. And that means each and every one of our passwords in a single file, and every child can get access to such files. And I showed that person how it's actually done, and how our passwords get leaked. And this guy here remembered uh, how he has shared passwords on various sites, and, and remembered something wrong happening. He remembered a particular site we checked, and we found out he was actually infected by just clicking on that website. So I was able to teach that person in just 40 minutes how he could protect himself. And the problem was that it wasn't that he wasn't aware. He wasn't just he didn't know what the next steps that he needed to take were. And you know that there are all kinds of threats, and sometimes we fail to pay attention until it's very late. So my job is to show you how you can burn yourselves and do that in a safe environment so that you are protected next time there is a threat. Well, looking at the issue from the perspective of how important it is in terms of cybersecurity, I believe that everybody in this room has heard somebody talking how important security and cybersecurity in particular is. So we need to understand that every time we talk about threats, we should be clear what we are trying to protect, actually. If there is an amount of money that we want to protect, we have to decide where to keep it. And thinking about safety locks and things like that, or we can even buy a safety box for that. But if we don't understand what we want to protect, we tend to talk in a rather vague and general way. Going back to training, in order to train somebody in cybersecurity hygiene, we have to first tell people what they need to protect. And that's my question for Janko. So what is it that we try to protect? Why do we create firewalls, and why do we draft policies?
If you expect me to find a better explanation than Gracie, I can give it a try though. What do we try to protect? We protect the new currency, if I may call it that way, information. Information is the new currency, and this is what we have to keep it safe. In the past, we used to say the owner of information is the master of the situation, and it is still the case. Well, life is most precious, but then the second most precious thing is the information of our children, of our family, of the company we work, of the state we live in, and the society we function in. Why did I call it the new currency? Anton rightly said that when we need to secure something, we always think what we need to invest into this security, because nobody would pay 1,000 levs for a safe deposit box and put only 5 levs there. So we have to understand why this information is so valuable. Over years, I've heard, so what? What can be taken away from me? I get the shivers when I hear that. You mentioned the baby phone. So what if somebody sees my baby? I recently told a story which we together witnessed on the 15th of September, the first school day. A gentleman was taking pictures of his child, first grader, in front of a beautiful house. He was driving a flashy car. Then he took pictures of the child in front of the school. Then he took the picture of the child in the schoolyard. And at 5 to 10, this was all uploaded on Facebook. And we asked him, didn't you think about it? And he said, so what? My kid goes to school now. He's a first grader. I'm very proud. And I said, well, if people see what your house looks like, what your car looks like, the school, even the address of the school and the plate number of the car is visible. And he said, well, what can happen? So this is really dangerous. Not to understand the value of the information. When it comes to corporate information, then the company has normally told you this information is confidential. This is, let's say, orange coded only for internal use, and this is green, so it can be used everywhere. And this is another very, very big topic indeed, how this classification is done within the company and how information how information use is conducted there. At the moment, we hear a lot in the media about the new computer game, which teaches children how to become drug dealers. You have heard about it. I'm sure you all know about it. It has nothing to do with cybersecurity. It has to do with digital hygiene. Anton already mentioned it. It has to do with what we call cyber culture. Recently, somebody asked me, so what can we do? How do we find our way in this mess? And my answer has always been, we learn to wash our hands. And exactly the same way, we have to learn that the information we share, the information we use, is extremely valuable. And the way we try to have our personal hygiene um, done properly, we should do the same in the cyber world. But can you tell me something that is not linked to the internet? And the question is, recently was digitalization is penetrating all professions. Perhaps hairdressers are not affected, and AI does not affect hairdressers either. Yes, ChatGPT perhaps can give you a haircut at the railway station. And the answer to that is, but heads are different. Well, only the first time is the right answer. And this is the first question. What is it that we try to keep safe? And second question, how do we do it? And this should become second nature. We have to keep our information, our cyber world secure, the way we do keep our health and our life, the way we try to be safe. So this is my short answer. Yes, we know Janko. This is a short answer for him. What I want to stress here, though, is that on the one hand, yes, the company you work for decides what information is valuable and what's not. In our private lives, however, nobody does that for us. Then there is no profession which is not digitalized at the moment. Even those who do menial work upload ads in Instagram, communicate through WhatsApp. I can't think of a profession which has not been affected by technology. And something else which is important, and it was mentioned earlier on before we began, which professions are not threatened by AI and which professions will be the first to be replaced. Which are not threatened, I don't know. But the ones that would be replaced are the ones. If I ask people how many of your core activities go through ChatGPT or core tools, and they need to understand that it's a matter of time to be replaced. because the manager would sooner or later realize that they do not need to pay salaries and take into account the health situation and so on of the staff. It would dawn on the manager sooner or later. And somebody has to to make us aware of our thoughts, our emotional state while we are using some device. And there are institutions that deal with this information, and the assessment of the maturity of the understanding of all that and how important it is also key. Unfortunately, maturity is not as high as we all wish it to be. Naturally, the different industries pay different degrees of attention to cybersecurity. In the financial industries, for instance, the regulations like NIS2, DORA, and so on have a very strong impact on the responsibility they take on data security. And they are mandated to do it one way or another. Their control is tighter. But frankly speaking, we have had many opportunities to be millionaires and live on a sunny island with your money. And still, we decided to be on the good side of things, to serve the good side and help the industry make progress. But other industries are not as well protected as we would wish them to be. One of the industries that have a lot of our personal data at hand is the healthcare system, and it is not protected. And not only in Bulgaria, I'm talking globally. We have clients from overseas, and they are in this industry. And the problem is not that they don't want to do it and there's no regulation. In the industry, and I'm not being specific, but in this particular industry, the end users, the staff, cannot be well trained to protect your data. For instance, in the healthcare system, these are the doctors. The medical doctors in Bulgaria are people who are committed to what they do, but they understand nothing about computer, for instance. We recently worked on a project of a multi-factor authentication in a hospital. The problem we faced was that most doctors use Nokia 310 phones, and we cannot get the system uploaded on their mobiles. The hospital does not pay for their mobiles. So the only conclusion we could come up with was to use either SMS or tokens. And the problem with the SMS is that this is not a very secure system. It's a dated technology, and it can very easily be detected and used. So if we use SMS, we can easily take the code and upload the code in the respective field. So technologies keep changing. While some industries pay attention to cyber hygiene, others don't. We try to help. However, the government must be involved, regulators must be involved as well, and they need to herd in the institutions to do what's needed. What you mentioned about the government, let me clarify something that was mentioned. It was mentioned in the flow of speech, namely compliance check. Namely, the regulation's there, you comply with the regulation, and you think you've done enough. But there is a mismatch here. Being compliant and being safe are two different things. So I would like to ask Krasi to tell us about the difference. He knows that you can have a training conducted simply to check a box, and then, on the other hand, to provide training in order for the person to be ready to do what they're expected to do. And I would like to link this up to another topic which was touched upon earlier, namely the need for people to be trained constantly, and not from external trainers, but from in-house people, people from the company to provide the training. Krasi, you are the one to respond. I know you hate me, compliance checks. I actually wanted to mention it earlier on. 5 minutes if you can. I'll put my timer on. I'll take 10. Anton was too much of a pessimist earlier on, and this is what I jotted down. Anton is a pessimist on AI. Yes, AI is going to replace some people. Let me now jump in on this issue, but it is not going to replace us. It's going to replace the people who do not take it up on time. This push we are living through at the moment, it's something coming from outside which pushes us, which helps us process more within a unit of time. And let me quote myself as an example. When I first started, I was using Chat GPT, but this is not the only AI. There are a lot of other AI products. My productivity increased multiple times by using AI. It did not give me more free time. On the contrary, I now need to do more work within the same unit of time. So let me only speak in my own name. AI will replace those who do not embrace it. Let me give you a sad example. A few days ago, I went to see my GP. There was an elderly lady there, and I asked her how long she had been waiting. I booked my appointment online, and this lady said, "I've been waiting here," and asked how long, and she said, I do not have an appointment because I cannot book an appointment." This is how those who cannot use AI are going to be. It's very sad. I'm sorry to tell you such a sad story. Yes, you can tell as a joke to change the mood, but this is my experience of using AI. Sadly, this will be evolution, the laws of evolution at play. Again, I'll quote myself as an example. There would be people like me who would be able to do 10 times more work than I do, and then there would be others who would be lagging behind, and they would certainly be crushed out of the system. And now, compliance checks, the topic that Anton raised. Compliance checks give us a certain level of performance, but sadly, it gives us a false sense of security. Most companies seem to think that the respective training has to be organized, and in order to get a certain certificate, we need to have been through training at least once a year. In December, we get a presentation of 50 slides, and you need to respond by saying, "Yes, I read it." So, compliance check has checks out the box. Of course, nobody has read the presentation. You know that December is a crazy month and a month of holidays. So this is what creates this false sense of security. We get the certificate we need, and it says that we're very good. We are top of the bunch, but someone like Janko can, in 15 minutes, do miracles on his mobile and demonstrate that we're not as good as we are on paper. And this is the difference between compliance checks and a secure environment. A secure environment is achieved slowly, and Janko very clearly said we have to identify the problem, focus our efforts there. We should not get distracted by other things. As I said, most people are just snowed under. And most people say, "Just tell me what to do. I have 100 mails waiting for me. I need to do 10 different things. My baby's crying because I need to change nappies as well." So that is why we don't have much time and attention span. And that's why we have to send a very clear message in order to build this secure environment. If we succeed, and when we succeed, the company and our private life as well turns us into cyber ninjas. luckily, I managed to achieve that in my company, and other companies which are at the global level, which audit hundreds of companies all over the place. In my last audit in February, I was told, you are light years away. I have been all over the place. I've seen so many companies and never seen anything like it. And I said, it's very simple, one step at a time. And as Janko said, ITs are, or Anton, you were probably the one, someone said, ITs are hated in the company. So if you want to start somewhere and not rely on compliance checks, let one person do this and do it one step at a time. Trust me, it uh, it generates the snowball effect. And it will be one person at the beginning, then it would be two, and then you would see that the environment is involved. But you need to go one step at a time. The whole company, the whole staff need to be infected in a way. So people come to me and ask me about things. In the past, it was taboo to go and ask. Well, now this is everyday an everyday phenomenon. People come and say, how can I use this at home? How can I use it with my children, with my friends? And I luckily managed to achieve this within 3 years. What Dennis said about training, I remember a staff from our company, because I do this kind of regular trainings, and there are a lot of funny stories related to training. One member of my staff said, you know that in the evening I go to bed to put my child to bed, and while she's falling asleep, I show her your training and she solves the problems. And I really cried when I heard that this is the best achievement we can have. Um, he said that his young daughter got irritated when she could not solve a problem. She wanted the problem to be shown her again and again until she found a solution. And when this child goes to school and her classmates show her this and that on their phones, she would be able to say, well, look at this or look at that. This little button will install some new software on your phone. If you see something in English and you don't speak English, just cancel. This is the difference between a compliance check and the security you need to build in a company.
I don't know how many among the audience know us and know what our initiative is all about, because when we are on stage, we want people to take away something useful, learn something that will improve their own cybersecurity and the cybersecurity of their family, children, etc. So I would like to turn your attention now to something else. A lot of people say cybersecurity is too expensive. When somebody talks about cybersecurity, they quote high prices, and decisions in that area are difficult to make. But this is simply not true. And there is evidence for what I'm saying. The greatest threat and the largest cybersecurity gaps take the least money to plug. If you use long videos or long-winded programs, there'll be somebody to offer you something like that at a high price, and the process will become expensive. We are soon going to launch something through our cyber club, cybersecurity in 5 steps, so that you can improve your cybersecurity by 90%. Microsoft had a report that 99.9% of data hacks happened because there was no dual factor or multi-factor authentication, something that Dennis mentioned. So is that so difficult to do? Well, globally, perhaps yes, but you have those 5 steps, and every one of you has heard about those 5 steps. But some people think that they're not easy to implement. So I'll tell you something very practical, and this is what we advise parents as well when they ask us, how can I do this for my child? Every platform that you use, Perplexity, Gemini, ChatGPT, etc., you can ask in Bulgarian, how can I set up parental control for my child? Or how should I set privacy functions on my phone? Even if you ask, it can show you screenshots, including some of the paid versions can give you a short video and explain in detail how it all happens. But first step is secure password. It's easy otherwise to harvest data and for somebody to steal your password. For example, from a website that is not secure enough, and then your email addresses. So one account at a time can be breached. Secondly, if you don't have dual-factor authentication on, please do that. If the provider does not offer that, bear in mind that this website or this space is going to be compromised sooner or later, so don't leave too much information there. Thirdly, update applications. The rule is very simple. If you need it, update it. If you don't need it, if you don't use it, delete it. Because very often we have applications which have certain vulnerabilities, and they can be used to attack the device itself. So update the apps that you use and delete the others. Next step, oversharing. Don't provide more information than absolutely necessary. When you take a photo of yourself, make sure that there isn't a password in the background that's visible. Yes, there are a lot of other examples. People take selfies in their office. I was just before the panel. I was looking at such a picture. A girl charging battery. It was very easy when you zoom in to see the application that she was using, and it was a chat application. So if I were somebody like Janko, I would easily find access. I'm saying Janko because he's a real expert. So somebody with his knowledge, if I give him the names of this particular individual and where they work, it wouldn't be a problem to compromise their accounts. And that was on LinkedIn. And there were a lot of likes, which means that a lot of people have seen it, which multiplies actually the threat level and the threat that this information is going to be abused. My cousin, every day when she goes to school, she uploads a story because there are 2 other girls she travels with on the bus. And it's like disjointed Morse code. You see how they go to the bus stop, they catch the bus, they walk to school entrance, and then they enter. And I made some screenshots, and I told some children that I was training. Well, you can see what this girl does every day. You can see which bus she travels on, what the stops are, where she catches the bus, etc. Google Maps allows us to trace the route. So we can see at what time she arrives at school. And before I told her that, she wasn't even aware that this is information that becomes available to everybody. Because, children like to have a lot of followers, a lot of their accounts are unlocked, and everyone has access to that. Just let me finish with the 5 steps or criteria. Let me just mention the last one, and then we'll continue discussing. Clicking links, just click links that you know where they would take you. Don't click on unfamiliar links. So this is the 5th rule. But going back to Dennis, on the one hand, children are important because they are the future internet users. But the other thing is that it's important to target them because they sometimes have access to their parents' devices, and that can be a vulnerability, especially if those devices contain payment information. Very recently, we saw how a blackout in a large region in Europe makes us hugely dependent on the devices that we use on a daily basis. It might happen to you not having internet access for half a day, and that's true apocalypse. And if you have a teenager at home, that's more than just an ordinary apocalypse. So a question for Dennis, because here's an important resource for us, sharing real-life examples about clients with access to significant infrastructure. So how do we illustrate risks? How do we teach people about vulnerabilities? Do they understand that there is something that they need to protect, or do they say, well, this is not going to happen? There are some simple things like, well, what Krasi was talking about, buses and stories on Facebook. Well, as I said earlier, the point of view of different companies is different. Some take preventive measures and are quite advanced in their cybersecurity. Tony mentioned the blackouts in Spain, and that was indeed an emergency. They said that it wasn't due to a cyber attack, but the more important conclusion to draw is that what the media at first decided that it had been indeed a cyber attack, which goes to show how important cybersecurity is for everybody and how sensitive we are to those threats. It is a problem that there is this compliance situation in a lot of companies where they just tick the boxes. They are mandated to do something because they need a certificate, but they don't do it in earnest. We sometimes play the role of hackers, and sometimes we manage not digitally, but physically. We enter their offices, we can steal a badge. There is a term used, piggybacking, when somebody opens a door and you go in before the door closes. And we also carry out phishing simulations with one of our clients, and it happened, that was the first time it happened, but then it was repeated. The inability of staff to detect phishing was 110%. And you may ask, well, how come 110%? Well, some of those people actually clicked twice and entered their passwords twice. So I can give you lots of similar examples. We've been able to hack clients through printers with admin passwords. Those passwords were installed ages ago when the printer was installed. The scenarios and the different ways in which, through which we can acquire your passwords are numerous. And it's very often we talk not complicated cyber attacks, but something very simple. I don't know whether you heard about DeepSeek several months ago. A cyber technology provider, they were the ones who discovered the vulnerability. Um, uh, so DeepSeek is similar to ChatGPT. So there was this simple vulnerability that accessed data, and there was so much confidential information, including the chats of everybody who had communicated with DeepSeek, and that was just via an open port on the servers. So it's sometimes very easy to acquire huge amounts of information at very low cost. And as Donny said, most of those vulnerabilities are human or individual related, so be very careful. Now I'd like to turn over to Janko because he's got loads of interesting examples, very amusing examples. So Janko, can you share with us what your trainees do? Well, allow me first to justify myself. Everybody says Yanko this or Yanko that, but I'm not a person who carries out cyber attacks. We have the two teams, the blue and the red one. The red one attacks and the blue team defends itself. So we talk about the good guys, and that's why our topic is cybersecurity and not attacking infrastructure. I have always been on the blue team, but because I have had to explain and demonstrate as part of my teaching, I often show things to ordinary people. So what did you want me to do or say? All right. Examples. Well, Dennis said it. Things are usually very simple. Recently, I'm not going to mention the municipality where it happens, but we are having a meeting with the mayor, and he is telling us how they have taken all the necessary precautionary measures. And then I say, well, would you take a bet? I'll just leave some flash drives in the car park. And let's see how long it will take before one of those flash drives gets into your computer. Well, and nobody wanted to bet how long it's likely to take, and the mayor said, well, probably that's not a good idea. But I can give you loads of such examples, and Danny says, right, it's all very simple, and gaps can be plugged using simple means. If you are attacked in a complex manner, honestly speaking, neither I nor anybody else is likely to help you. If we have a state-sponsored attack, well, perhaps those people are already in, so it is just a matter of time before they actually attack. But in the ordinary world, yes, a nice blonde girl, I'm sure that she'll be able to penetrate the organization. I've never used a girl, but I've done it myself. Uh, Okay, it's not me. doing it most of the time. Well, you're wondering about flash drives and saying, well, who's going to be using somebody else's flash drive? Well, there is a label. If you have that label on, if it says payroll on it, 99% of people would push that flash drive into their device to see who's earning what. So it's important that you start asking questions, and when you give answers, you have to be able to answer them correctly. So, what does the other party want? What's their aim, and how are they likely to achieve it? So, final words from our panelists. What are the takeaways from today's discussion, starting with Janko?
In my 1 minute, I would say the following. We are all part and parcel of this new cyber world. No matter what we do, in what position, on what position we are, what our profession is. And there is nothing shameful if we don't understand something. I've been doing this all my life, and there's still a lot of things I don't understand. That is why this community, which Anton mentioned, was set up. If and when you have questions, queries, come to us. We join on a monthly basis. It's free of charge. We organize meetings, trainings, and whatnot. We have good experts, a wide plethora of experts, much wider than what you see now, in cybersecurity and emerging technologies. Come, share your problems, and we'll find something, if not a solution, then at least the people who will be able to suggest the solution to your problem. So this is my message to the audience. Grazie. I would like to go back to what you said, namely that security is not expensive. Well, I was having my coffee. Do you know that this coffee is more expensive than training one member of your staff for 1 whole month? So security is not expensive. It's a matter of how you do it and your behavior, which will result in the snowball effect, which I mentioned earlier. And something on what Dennis said. Hackers do not operate on the economy of scale. You may be a big or small company, that doesn't matter. Hackers are looking for vulnerabilities. If they find vulnerabilities, they'll hit. I would like to finish on the same note as Krasi. You will probably see films and hackers are wearing black hoodies and they write some codes. Most of the time, you only need a mouse to be a hacker. This is social engineering. And again, we get back to the vulnerability of people. So be very, very careful. The simplest approach is the most frequently used. What we see in our clients is usually the simplest mistakes. If we are to write codes or read somebody else's code to carry out an attack, it means good protection, or at least relatively good safety. So the first thing is vulnerability, and any hacker would detect this vulnerability. Try not to be this vulnerability. And anyone who gets trained or who is working in this field will help the entire society and will feel safer collectively. I would like to finish on a more positive note. After all the negative things that were said about new technology, we have the good luck to witness a technological transition, and that's good for all of us so long as we are familiar with the technologies and the risks they carry. Of course, there are risks, no matter how positive and how good the new technologies may be. And if we know the risk today, before the technology day tomorrow, we would be safer and we will feel more secure. So find us. We're Cyber Club, one word, and social networks. We organize a lot of events. Do you need help? Is something going on? We also have volunteers who can help you. You know that what needs to be done is not complex, it's easy. If you wonder what to do in the summer, you can take a course in AI or virtual reality. This is the time to learn about it, and it would be a smooth it would and it would make a smooth slide into your lives. And now allow me to introduce the next panel, Sergei Stanishev and George Kremlis.